Most men walk through life believing they already know how to kiss. They treat it as instinct, like breathing or blinking. You lean in, press your lips to hers, maybe tilt your head at an angle like the movies taught you, and that's it, done. But what if I told you that for the past 15 years as a urologist specializing in intimate health, I've seen a pattern so consistent that it can no longer be ignored? That 9 out of 10 men are kissing in all the wrong places, completely bypassing the very zones that have the power to awaken a woman's deepest emotions, not just her physical reactions. It's not that men lack passion. If anything, men often approach intimacy with overwhelming enthusiasm. The problem is direction. They invest their focus where they assume a woman wants to be touched. The lips, the chest, maybe lower, all very predictable. But predictability is the death of desire. Women do not respond to routine contact. They respond to discovery. And this is where the shocking truth emerges. The most powerful kisses are never placed where society taught you to aim. They are delivered where a woman least expects them, on areas so overlooked, so delicate, so vulnerable, that touching them feels less like possession and more like revelation. I've treated thousands of men and women over the course of my career. I've listened to their frustrations behind closed doors, husbands confused by fading passion, wives quietly mourning a kind of intimacy they've never experienced, not even in decades of marriage. One woman in her 60s told me, with tears in her eyes, "I've been kissed thousands of times, but I've never felt truly seen." That sentence haunts me to this day, because it exposes the heart of this issue. Most men kiss to express desire. Few kiss to cultivate connection. But here is the secret few men know. A kiss is not meant to be an introduction to passion. It is meant to be an invitation to surrender. And the key to unlocking that surrender lies far away from the obvious places. There are 3 hidden zones on a woman's body that, when kissed with care, can send signals directly through her nervous system into the regions of the brain responsible for trust, bonding, memory, and pleasure. These spots are not random. They are neurological gateways, wired to her emotional core. When activated correctly, they do more than excite her. They anchor her to you. They leave imprints. They make her crave your presence long after your lips have left her skin. But, and this is where everything changes, these techniques only work for men who understand patience. The aggressive, rushed approach that might have seemed exciting in one's younger years becomes counterproductive with age. Force repels. Intention attracts. Women past 40, 50, 60 are not looking for proof of masculinity through intensity. They are looking for safety, reverence, and presence. So before I reveal these 3 zones, I need you to let go of everything you think you know about kissing. Because this one T just change how you touch her. It will change how she feels in your arms, forever. Are you ready to stop kissing like every other man? And start kissing like the one she'll never forget? There is a quiet shift that happens in a man's life as he grows older, a shift he often doesn't notice until suddenly, one day, he does. The body is no longer fueled by impulse alone. The quick responses of youth are replaced by something slower, steadier, wiser. And while many men mourn this change, believing it to be a loss of virility, what they fail to realize is that this transformation is not a decline, it's an evolution. Younger men often rely on speed, on pressure, on sheer physicality. They think passion is proven through intensity. But what most women over 40 will tell you, if they feel safe enough to admit it, is that such urgency often feels more like performance than connection. It's as if the man is chasing a finish line instead of savoring the journey. and a woman can feel that, not in her skin, but in her soul. The truth is, mature women crave a different kind of intimacy. They are no longer impressed by displays of dominance for its own sake. They don't want to be overtaken. They want to be understood. They don't want to be handled. They want to be cherished. They don't want a man who acts like a conqueror. They want one who acts like a guardian. This is why men over 50 have a unique advantage, not a disadvantage, in the realm of intimacy. Because patience, presence, and emotional steadiness intensify desire far more than rapid movement or raw strength ever could. Women remember how you make them feel, not how hard you pressed against them. Let me give you an example. A woman once told me, "I don't need a man to touch me everywhere. I need him to touch me like he's grateful to be allowed there." Do you understand the difference? It's the contrast between taking and receiving. One feels invasive, the other feels sacred. And this is where most men unknowingly fail. They try to recreate the passion of their 20s, believing that youth equals potency. But passion is not about age, it's about awareness. If anything, youthful intimacy is clumsy, it's impatient. It's focused on outcome, not experience. Real intimacy, the kind that leaves a woman trembling long after the moment has ended, comes not from frantic movements, but from slow, intentional exploration. A mature man has the ability to pause, to breathe, to listen, not just with his ears, but with his hands, his lips, his presence. He has learned, sometimes through heartbreak, sometimes through regret, that touch is not a right. It's a responsibility. This is why the 3 hidden kissing spots I am about to reveal are not techniques for boys. They are keys meant for men who understand that intimacy is not about proving yourself, it's about opening someone else. And opening someone takes trust. Trust takes gentleness. And gentleness takes confidence. If you are the kind of man who believes that slowing down makes you weak, then you are not ready for what comes next. But if you're ready to step into a deeper, quieter kind of power, the kind that makes a woman melt, rather than merely react, then you are exactly the man these secrets were meant for. Because from this point forward, we are no longer discussing how to kiss a woman's body. We are discussing how to kiss her nervous system. And everything changes when you understand that difference. Before we explore the first hidden spot, you must understand why these specific areas of a woman's body hold such immense power. This isn't guesswork. It's not romantic exaggeration. It's biology. It's neurology. It's chemistry. And once you understand what's happening beneath the skin, you'll realize that true intimacy isn't about learning new moves, it's about learning how to speak directly to her nervous system. Most men treat physical touch like flipping a switch. They believe arousal is about friction, about stimulation of obvious zones. But a woman's body doesn't react like a machine. She doesn't turn on, she awakens. And awakening is a process that begins not with the body, but with the brain. The hormone that changes everything. There is one chemical at the center of deep emotional intimacy: oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. Women produce significantly more oxytocin than men, especially during touch, affection, and emotional closeness. When oxytocin levels rise, several things happen simultaneously. Her guard lowers, making her feel emotionally safe. Her nervous system shifts from alertness to receptivity. Her brain links you with feelings of comfort, trust, and desire. You may think pleasure happens in the skin. It doesn't. Skin is just the keyboard. The music is played in the brain. And oxytocin is the melody that lingers long after your hands or lips have left her. The secret: not all touch is equal. Here's what most men get wrong. They think pressure equals passion. They think harder, faster, deeper is more effective. But oxytocin doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to slowness, warmth, and consistency. A study published in Frontiers in Behavioral Neuroscience revealed that women respond most strongly to gentle touch at 1 to 10 centimeters per second, the exact pace of slow kissing or caressing. Faster than that becomes noise. Slower than that becomes anticipation. But that middle range sends signals through specialized nerve fibers called C-tactile afferents, which are designed to detect affectionate touch, not functional contact. Let that sink in. There are nerves in her body that exist solely to recognize loving touch. And here's where things get fascinating. These nerves are not concentrated where most men focus, not in the obvious places. They're scattered across specific overlooked zones: the throat, the inner wrist, the inner thigh, areas that almost never receive deliberate kiss-based attention. Which means, when you kiss them correctly, you are activating pathways that have been dormant for years, maybe decades. The psychological trigger hidden in vulnerability. But there's an emotional layer as well. These areas are not just sensitive, they are exposed, unguarded, intimate, in a quiet, unspoken way. The throat positioned above her heartbeat, close to her airway, is a place of vulnerability. The inner wrist, where her pulse beats softly beneath delicate skin, is a place of life and fragility. The inner thigh, close to her core, yet not traditionally touched with reverence, is a place of trust. When you choose these places over the obvious ones, you send a clear message. I don't just want your body. I honor your being. And that, more than physical sensation, is what makes her melt. So, before we continue, I need you to make a promise, not to me, but to her. Do not treat the next 3 parts like techniques to achieve a reaction. Treat them like languages to express reverence. Because if you do, she won't just respond physically. She will remember you. And now, we begin. The first hidden spot lies just inches below her lips, yet most men never even see it. It's one of the most overlooked places on a woman's body, not because men daren't see it, but because they don't recognize it. They glide past it while kissing her neck, brushing over it without intention, unaware that they have just passed one of the most emotionally loaded, neurologically rich locations in the entire human body. I'm talking about the soft hollow at the base of her throat, right where her collarbones meet, that delicate dip that rises and falls with each breath. You've seen it 1,000 times, but likely never paused long enough to consider its significance. To most men, it's simply skin. To her body and her brain, it is a switch. One that connects directly to her vagus nerve, the longest cranial nerve in the human body, responsible for regulating her heart rate, her breathing, and most importantly, her relaxation response. Let me put that plainly. When you kiss this spot correctly, you are not just touching her skin, you are soothing her nervous system. That's why this spot is so powerful. It's not overtly sexual. It's not aggressive. It's disarming. It makes her muscles soften. It slows her pulse. It triggers her body to shift from guarded alertness to peaceful receiving. And that, more than any amount of intensity, is what opens her. Why this spot feels so different. Think about the vulnerability of this area. Beneath that thin layer of skin lies her trachea, her major arteries, the gateway to her breathing and her life. When you place your lips there, she cannot see what you're doing. She must trust you completely. That alone creates a psychological effect most men underestimate. You are not just giving her sensation, you are asking for surrender. And when you honor that request with gentleness rather than hunger, her body melts. It's not just about pleasure, it's about being cherished. One woman once described it to me like this: when he kissed that spot softly, slowly, I didn't feel devoured. I felt adored. The mistake most men make: most men rush past this spot on their way to the neck or collarbone. Or worse, they press too hard, suck, or bite, completely missing the point. They think more pressure equals more passion. But this spot obeys the opposite rule. The lighter your touch, the deeper her reaction. This is not a place to take. It's a place to honor. Rest your lips there for a moment, not moving, not demanding, just being. Let her feel your breath. Let her feel that you see her vulnerability, and instead of exploiting it, you protect it. If you do that, her entire body will respond in ways you won't expect. Her breathing will deepen, her shoulders will relax. The muscles around her hips may unconsciously soften. She may not even understand why she suddenly feels calm and aroused at the same time, but you will know. Because you will have awakened the first gateway. And once this doorway is open, the rest of her will follow. If the hollow of her throat is the gateway to emotional safety, then the inner wrist is the spark that lights quiet longing. Most men never kiss a woman's wrists. They may grab them playfully, hold them during passion, or let their hands brush past them while undressing her, but very few deliberately kiss them. And that is precisely why this spot is so devastatingly effective. Because nothing awakens sensation like the unexpected. Why this spot works more than you think. The inner wrist, specifically the area just below the palm, where her pulse beats beneath thin skin, is loaded with C-tactile nerve fibers, the same ones we discussed earlier that are designed to detect affectionate, slow touch. But there's another reason this spot is so powerful. It's where fragrance, memory, and vulnerability collide. Think about it. When a woman wears perfume, where does she apply it? The neck, behind the ears, and the wrists. Why? Because pulse points radiate heat, sending subtle scent into the air. This makes the wrist not just a physical zone, but a psychological imprint zone. When you kiss it, your warmth presses into a place her brain already associates with sensation and memory. The psychological trigger, control. Reversed, there's something primal about holding someone by the wrist. It implies strength, control, dominance even. But kissing the wrist, instead of gripping it, flips the script entirely. It's an act of restraint rather than power. You're not holding her there. You're asking permission to even be that close. It tells her silently, I could take, but I choose to worship. And that subtle reversal triggers something deep within. The feminine brain, a surge of trust mixed with anticipation. Her mind whispers, if this is how he treats the places he could control, how will he treat the places I choose to give? How to do it the right way. This is not a quick peck. This is not a joke or a flourish. This is a moment. Take her hand slowly, not yanking, not tugging, guiding it gently, as though you were curious about something she doesn't yet know you noticed. Turn her palm slightly upward, exposing that soft, pale inner territory that rarely receives direct attention. Pause. Just hold it. Let your thumb rest near her pulse so she feels your warmth on her heartbeat. Then bring your lips to that spot, but don't rush the contact. Hover. Let your breath warm the skin first. Make her feel the approach. When you finally press your lips there, do it softly. No sucking, no licking. Just warmth, stillness, presence. Stay for 2 seconds longer than feels natural. That extra moment is what transforms a gesture into a memory. Her reaction may be subtle. A sharp inhale, a sudden stillness, a softening of her fingers. Or, it may be immediate. A tremble through her hand, her knees slightly weakening, her eyes glazing in quiet surprise. Either way, you will know, because she won't pull away. She follow. Which brings us to the most powerful spot of all. A place so charged, so neurologically and emotionally wired to longing, that when you kiss it correctly, she will forget every man who never found it. This is the one. The place where anticipation becomes surrender, if you handle it correctly. Most men rush this area with impatience, treating the inner thighs as highways leading to a single destination. They graze past them, touch them briefly, maybe squeeze them playfully, but almost never linger with reverence. And that is where everything goes wrong. Because the inner thigh isn't just a pathway, it's a threshold. You don't pass through it, you ask it for permission. The exact spot most men miss. I'm not talking about the entire thigh. I'm referring to a very specific point. About 2 inches away from her most intimate center, close enough to be undeniably suggestive, yet far enough to create suspense. This zone is a paradox, so close to desire, yet untouched by routine arousal. It's where anticipation lives. And anticipation, as every woman knows far better than most men, is not a delay of pleasure, it is the beginning of it. Why this spot creates lightning in her nervous system. The inner thigh is rich with sensory nerves connected to the genitofemoral and obturator nerve branches, which send signals directly into the brain's arousal centers. But what makes this area even more potent is the psychological context. Unlike the obvious erogenous zones, the inner thigh is not always touched during intimacy. When it is usually rushed, squeezed, brushed, or used merely as a stepping stone. But when you slow down, when you choose to worship the space beside desire, instead of claiming desire directly, her brain lights up in confusion and longing. Why is he here and not there? Is he waiting? Is he teasing? Is he asking? That internal questioning pulls her into full presence, awakening her not just physically but mentally. This is where desire transforms from reflex into yearning. How to execute this correctly? Most men think teasing means pulling away. It doesn't. Teasing is not absence, it's restraint. You're not avoiding the center, you're hovering near it with unwavering intention. Here's how. Guide her thighs apart, slowly but gently. No force. Make it an invitation, not a command. Start farther away. Kiss, just above the knee. Then another kiss, slightly higher. Keep moving upward, but slow, very slow. Once you reach that key zone, 2 inches from her heat, stop. Not because you're uncertain, but because you respect the power of the moment. Place your lips there, and breathe against her skin before making contact. Let warmth precede touch. Then press a deep, still kiss. No licking, no biting. Just firm, lingering presence. Pull back only an inch and wait. If she moves toward you, you've ignited the response. At this point, her body won't just be ready, it will be aching. The difference between taking and summoning any man can take. Very few can summon. When you use this spot correctly, you won't have to continue. She'll invite you. And that, more than any physical conquest, is the mark of a man who understands feminine desire not as something to trigger, but something to unfold. These 3 zones, the throat hollow, the wrist pulse, the inner thigh threshold, are not just techniques. They are doorways into her nervous system, her emotions, her trust. But knowing them is not the same as mastering them. Because now comes the final step. Combining them into a sequence so powerful that her body begins responding before she even realizes what's happening. Shall I show you? Now that you understand where to touch, it's time to understand when. Most men collect techniques like tools and then wield them like hammers, one after the other, with no rhythm, no pacing, no awareness of order. But intimacy, especially with a mature woman, is not a checklist, it's a progression. A gradual unraveling. A story. The 3 hidden zones you've learned: the throat hollow, the wrist pulse point, and the inner thigh threshold, are not meant to be used randomly, but woven as a deliberate sequence that guides her body from awareness to longing to surrender. Let me give you the blueprint. Phase 1. Awakening the mind. The throat hollow, you always start where she least expects touch. Not below, not even at the mouth. You begin at the base of her throat. Why? Because this is where safety lives. The vagus nerve that runs through her neck is the gateway to her parasympathetic system, responsible for calming her heartbeat, slowing her breathing, silencing internal alerts. When you place your lips at that delicate hollow, soft, patient, motionless at first, her body instinctively shifts from guarded to open. Your first goal is not arousal. It is trust. And once you've earned that, everything else becomes effortless. Phase 2. Igniting anticipation. The wrist pulse point. Now you pull away. Not to create absence, but to shift attention. Take her hand. Don't lace your fingers, that's romantic. Turn her wrist inward, that's intimate. You already know how powerful the inner forearm is, wired directly into sensory pathways, linked to anticipation. But here's the nuance. You don't rush. You let silence do half the work. Look at her only briefly, then lower your gaze to her wrist, as if it is the most natural, inevitable thing in the world. Then soft, slow, lingering kiss. This is not a demand. It's a promise. Her breath will change. Her shoulders soften for the second time. Now she's not just safe, she's curious. Phase 3. Summoning desire. The inner thigh threshold. Only now, and not a moment sooner, do you shift lower. Not because you want to, because she's ready. You guide her body gently, unhurried, into a position where you can reach her inner thigh. You already know the mechanics. Slow ascent. Hovering near. Breath before contact. The kiss that waits. But here's the final key. You must not move beyond that spot until she seeks more. Let her body answer you. Not her words. Not her mind. If her hand moves toward you, welcome it. If her hips tilt, follow. If she whispers, listen. That is not permission. That is invitation. The true secret most men never learn. The power of this 3-part sequence, ISNT, where you touch it, SNY, you pause. Women do not fall in love with pressure. They fall in love with intention. With a man who does not take their body but reads it. Now that you understand the architecture of desire, are you ready to see how to apply this, not just in private moments, but in everyday life? Because the greatest lovers don't wait for intimacy to start in the bedroom. They seed it throughout the day, long before desire is spoken. That is where mastery lives. Most men think intimacy begins when the lights go off. They're wrong. With mature women, with women who have lived, loved, been disappointed, hardened, softened, rebuilt, intimacy begins long before any physical contact. You don't awaken her body first, you awaken her awareness of being wanted. That doesn't happen in the bedroom. It happens in passing moments, in subtle gestures, in the way you enter her space without rushing to claim it. Let us talk about how to do that, not with grand declarations or cliché romance, but with quiet precision. The rule: touch without taking. Before you ever reach the throat, wrist, or thigh, there are micro-exchanges that prime her entire nervous system to receive touch long before it happens. These are not overtly sexual, they are suggestive, not of your desire for her body, but of your awareness of her presence. Here's how to do it. 1. The near touch, the almost contact. Don't go straight for skin. That's what amateurs do. Instead, hover. When you pass behind her in the kitchen, Place your hand an inch from her lower back, close enough for her body to sense you without contact. Her nervous system reaches for the missing touch. That's anticipation in its purest form, before a kiss, before a word. 2. The delayed acknowledgement when she speaks. Don't reply immediately. Let silence rest for a heartbeat longer than normal. Hold her gaze, then answer. This creates a subtle dissonance, not discomfort, but awareness. You're not distracted. You're not casual. You're absorbing her. 3. The unnecessary adjustment. If she wears a necklace, straighten it. If a strand of hair falls forward, brush it behind her ear, not roughly, not playfully, but deliberately, as if you are adjusting something valuable, because you are. These gestures are not cute. They signal possession without ownership, desire without demand. 4. The boundary of voice. Lower your tone, not for dominance, but intimacy. Speak slower. Men forget, your voice's touch before touch. A deeper tone activates the brain's limbic system, the same region tied to memory and emotional arousal. When used sparingly, it becomes her cue to listen with her body, not just her ears. 5. The withdrawn hand. After brief contact, pull away first. She track the absence. That absence keeps her alert. If you linger too long, she adjusts. If you pull away too soon, she remains sensitive. This is not manipulation. This is leadership. The layering effect. Individually, these gestures are small, but layered throughout the day, in the midst of ordinary routines, they create an undercurrent. A subtle charge that builds beneath conversation, beneath chores, beneath laughter. By the time you finally reach for her, she doesn't just accept it. Her body whispers, finally. You now know how to build anticipation before touch, and how to touch in a way that awakens rather than startles. In the next part, I'll reveal the single biggest mistake most men make during intimacy, and how one simple shift can make her feel like you understand her in a way no one else ever has. Stop. You can touch all the right places. You can follow every sequence perfectly. You can even build anticipation throughout the day, like a master of restraint, and still lose her in an instant. Most men don't even realize they've broken the spell. They think everything is going perfectly, and then suddenly she's distracted, hesitant, or emotionally distant. What happened? Simple. They switched from connection to performance. And the moment a man starts performing, a woman stops feeling. The most common moment where men fail, it happens right when things are going well, when she's breathing deeply, responding softly, leaning into your touch. You take that as confirmation, and without even noticing, you speed up. Your rhythm changes. You switch from listening to leading. You go from, I'm here with you, to I know what to do next. And the moment you enter that mindset, she feels it. Suddenly, she's not with you. She's being guided by you. Which sounds good until you realize she doesn't want a leader. She wants a mirror. Enter the shift from performance to presence. There is a single rule that separates forgettable lovers from unforgettable ones. Do not respond to your own confidence. Respond to hers. What does that mean? It means you don't act because you think she's ready. You wait until her body asks. Not her words, her breath. Not her hands, her tension. Not her sounds, her stillness. Because here's the truth. Women don't show readiness by moving more. They show readiness by holding still. When she stops moving, when she goes silent, when she pauses as if suspended, that's not hesitation, that's surrender. And if you rush past that stillness, thinking you should accelerate, you destroy the very moment she was preparing to receive. How to master stillness play. Here's what to do when she goes quiet beneath your touch. Freeze exactly where you are. Don't adjust. Don't advance. Don't retreat. Keep your lips or hands there, but soften pressure slightly. Breathe, slow, audible. Let your breath move against her skin. Wait for her. Almost always she will do one of three things: lean toward you wanting more, grip or tense, lightly wanting it deeper, exhale and melt completely, signaling, stay right there. There is no guesswork, no uncertainty, no risk of pushing too far. Her body will tell you everything, but only if you shut up long enough to listen. The true art of intimacy. Great lovers are not defined by technique, they are defined by pace. Anyone can touch. Few can wait. And women, especially mature women who have seen both impatience and indifference, recognize instantly when a man is not chasing a goal, but savoring the unfolding. In the next part, I'll show you how to turn this kind of presence into something even deeper. A bond that lingers in her long after the moment ends, the kind that makes her think about you when you're gone, crave your return, and feel chosen in a way no words could express. Touch fades. Even the most electric encounter, no matter how perfect in the moment, eventually dissolves from the skin. But what doesn't fade, what haunts her in the best possible way, is the echo you leave behind. The invisible imprint that lingers long after you've stepped away. The one that makes her pause while washing dishes and feel a flutter in her stomach. The one that makes her reach for her phone just to see your name. The one that makes her realize, he didn't just touch me, he knew me. This isn't created through intensity, it's created through completion. Let me explain. Most men end things too sharply. They finish with a final movement, a final kiss, a final exhale, and then they pull away. They don't mean to be abrupt. They're just shifting gears from passion back to normalcy. But to her nervous system, that's jarring. Because here's what most men don't know. The ending of intimacy is more important than the beginning. Why? Because the ending tells her whether everything before it was connection or performance. If you retreat too quickly, her body thinks, was that for me, or just for him? Even if everything before was perfect, a rushed ending can make it forgettable. The art of the slow exit. To leave an emotional echo, you must end like you began, with intention. Here's how. When she reaches peak softness, don't move away immediately. Stay, not pressing, not stimulating, just resting. Your hand on her skin, your forehead against hers, your breath close but peaceful. No rhythm, no agenda. Just wait. Warmth, presence. Let silence settle. Don't talk yet, don't fill the moment. When you do pull away, do it in micro stages. Move slowly, giving her nervous system time to follow the departure rather than lose it abruptly. Skin separates like silk, not like tape ripped from a surface. Leave one final point of contact, as if reluctant to go. A thumb trace on her arm. A last brush at her waist. A soft kiss at her temple. Not for arousal, for assurance. The final signal, before you leave her space, whether it's standing from a couch or rolling to your side in bed, speak one quiet sentence. Not flattery, not performance, recognition. Something like, I like how quiet you get when you trust me. Or, I didn't rush, I waited. Thank you for letting me. These are not compliments. They are witnessing. And women remember forever the moments when a man doesn't just touch them, but sees them. You now understand how to ignite anticipation, how to touch with attunement, and how to end in a way that makes her body remember you. But what if I told you there's a way to make her crave you, even when you not touching her at all? In the next part, I'll reveal how to use distance, physical or emotional, not as a barrier, but as fuel for desire. Most men believe that desire is built through presence. Touch her more, Compliment her more. Spend more time near her. Give attention, give comfort, give affection. And yes, presence matters. But the greatest mistake men make, especially men who finally learn how to give truly tender, attentive intimacy, is assuming that more is always better. It's not. A woman does not crave what is constantly available. She craves what is felt, and then missed. Which means if you want her to continue wanting you, even when you are gone, you must learn the art of purposeful absence, not neglect, not withdrawal, not emotional distance, but space with intention. The principle of elastic tension. Think of desire like a silk ribbon between you. If you pull too hard, it snaps. If you let it hang slack, it loses energy. But if you stretch it gently, and release again and again, it builds rhythm, momentum, expectation. That's the game. You don't disappear. You step back, just far enough for her to feel the pull. How to create that pull, without games or manipulation. This is not about ignoring her, or withholding affection. This is about contrast. If every interaction is soft and soothing, she relaxes. Good. But if every interaction is soft and soothing, she stops anticipating. She becomes secure, but not alive. To reawaken aliveness, you introduce controlled distance. Here's how. 1. End moments before she does when holding her. Release first. Not abruptly, not coldly, but as if you could stay, yet choose not to. This tells her nervous system. He is not taking comfort from me. He is offering it, and he moves on his own timing. That is not rejection, it is masculine autonomy. 2. Send one-line messages that create more silence than words. Don't write novels. Don't flood her with validation. Say something that lands and lingers. Examples. Thinking of the way you went quiet yesterday, or still remembering the way you breathed when I paused. Then stop. Let her sit with it. Desire doesn't grow in noise. It grows in echoes. 3. Be warm, but not always available when she reaches for you. Don't always answer instantly. Not to create anxiety, but to maintain polarity. If she knows she can summon you at will, she stops summoning. If she wonders, she'll keep reaching. Absence is not emptiness. It is memory, colliding with anticipation. Your goal is to create a rhythm in her body. Presence gives, she melts. Absence gives, she realizes she misses that melting. That's when she longs for you, not for touch itself, but for who she becomes when you touch her. In the next part, I will show you how to anchor this even deeper. How to make her associate peace itself with being near you, so that even on her worst days, her body seeks your presence as instinctively as shelter from rain. Desire is powerful, but safety is stronger. A woman may crave excitement, thrill, passion, but when life wears her down, she won't reach for the man who stimulates her the most. She will reach for the man who regulates her nervous system, not the man who gives her butterflies, the man who gives her exhale. And if you learn how to activate that response in her deep, instinctive calm, she will bond to you in a way that outlasts mere chemistry. This is not poetic exaggeration, it's biology. Women don't fall in love with feelings, they fall in love with states. Most men try to impress with experiences. A romantic date, a passionate kiss, a clever remark. But women don't get addicted to events. They get addicted to how they feel in your presence. If her body consistently feels less anxious, less tense, less overworked, less hypervigilant around you, then her entire nervous system begins to associate you with relief. And once that association forms, she won't just want you, she needs you. Not independence, in anchoring. How to become that anchor, the 3 signals of nervous system safety. There are 3 behaviors that instantly communicate emotional refuge to a woman. Not through words, through tone, timing, and stillness. 1. You slow down when she speeds up if she's panicking, rambling, venting. Don't match her energy. Most men try to fix, interrupt, or reassure. Don't. Just slightly lower your voice. Slow your breathing. Respond with pauses. Her body will naturally entrain to yours. You've just silently said, "You don't have to hold yourself together right now. I've got you." 2. You touch with weight, not movement when she's overwhelmed. Don't stroke, or fidget, or pat. That creates more stimulation. Instead, place your hand, firm, still, present on her shoulder, on her thigh, around her back. No rubbing, no tapping, just steady contact. That signals you are not floating anymore. You can land here. 3. You don't rush her out of silence after she exhales. Don't jump in with words. Let silence expand. Most people break silence because they're uncomfortable. If you don't, she will feel it. He isn't afraid of my stillness. He's welcoming it. That's when she truly relaxes. When safety and desire collide. Now imagine combining what you learned in earlier parts, the art of anticipation, slow touch, and emotional mirroring, with this level of nervous system regulation. You're no longer just a lover, you're sanctuary. And when a woman finds sanctuary in a man, she does not forget him. In the next part, I'll teach you something few men ever understand. How to speak directly to her subconscious, using language patterns that bypass logic and go straight to emotion, so that even your words touch her like your hands do. Most men think words are about meaning. Men speak to inform. Women, especially emotionally attuned, mature women, respond to something deeper. They don't just hear words. They feel them. Which means, if you want to truly reach her, not just her mind, but her body's memory and instinct, you must learn to speak in a way that doesn't explain, but evokes. Because when you speak to her subconscious, her breathing changes, her posture shifts, her pulse responds before she even knows why, and suddenly, your voice becomes touch. The 3 types of words that activate her emotional brain. There are 3 categories of language that bypass logic and go straight to sensation. 1. Sensory dispersed words. Her body can feel, instead of saying, "You look beautiful." Say, "The way your skin flushed right there when you laughed. I had to stop myself from reaching out." Or, "I like how warm you felt against me earlier. Like you were melting into my hands." You're not complimenting her. You're replaying a physical moment, triggering the sensations all over again. 2. Temporal anchors past and future in the same breath. Don't just comment on the moment. Bind it to time. Example, "The way you went quiet earlier. I'm still thinking about it. And I already know I'm going to think about it again tomorrow." Past gives, present gives future. You've just made a moment significant, alive, persistent. Her subconscious reads, "I affected him. I stayed with him." And that, more than anything, makes a woman open. 3. Incomplete confessions. Statements that trail off. You don't always need to finish your thoughts. Sometimes, the most powerful line is the one that leaves her hanging. Example, "When you looked at me like that earlier, I had to." Then stop. Let her mind fill in the ending. Silence lets her imagination activate, and her own imagination will be far more intimate than anything you could have said. The rule, speak less, but with texture. You don't need to talk like a poet. You don't need long speeches. You simply need to speak in ways that touch nerve endings, not just ears. And once she is conditioned to your voice as stimulation, she will crave hearing it, even when you say nothing sexual at all. In the next part, we bring it all together. I will show you how to turn all of this anticipation, touch, silence, language, into a ritual that she will begin yearning for instinctively, even before you initiate it. At this point, you know how to build anticipation without rushing. Slow her nervous system until she melts touch with presence. Not performance. Leave an emotional echo when you part. Use words that enter her body, like warmth. Now it's time to bind it all into one thing, a ritual. Because moments, even beautiful ones, fade, but rituals become wired into the body. They transform desire from reactional into predictive, meaning she won't just respond when you initiate. Her body will begin responding in advance, preparing for you before you even reach for her. That's not fantasy. That's conditioning. What is a ritual in this context? A ritual is simply a repeatable pattern that her body learns to associate with pleasure, calm, anticipation, or surrender. It can be built from a gesture, a phrase, a placement of your hand, a breath, even a specific silence. When done consistently, her nervous system eventually stops waiting for the full moment. Instead, it begins reacting at the very first cue. Examples of simple, powerful ritual triggers. Choose one, and always begin with it when you're about to deepen intimacy. 1. The breath at her neck. Before touching anywhere else, lean in and exhale softly at the base of her neck. Do not rush into kissing. Just hover, breathe, pause. Repeat this every time you begin. Soon, the moment she feels your breath there, her body will soften before you touch. 2. The hand at her lower back, still, not moving, not stroking, not squeezing, just placed. If you always start this way, her spine will eventually arch subconsciously the moment your hand lands there. She's not thinking, she's remembering. 3. The phrase spoken low and certain. It doesn't matter what phrase, so long as it's always the same and delivered in the same tone. Something like, "Come here," or "Slow now." Say it only when you are about to shift her into deeper softness. Over time, simply hearing those words will switch her state. The secret: consistency without announcement. Never explain the ritual. Never say, "This is our thing." No, just repeat it, calmly, intentionally. Moments become patterns. Patterns become instinct. Instinct becomes craving. In the next part, I'll reveal the final layer. How to use your arousal, not as something to hide or control, but as fuel that deepens her surrender rather than pushes her away. This is where most men get it wrong, and where you will set yourself apart. Most men treat their own arousal like a problem to be solved, or a beast to be unleashed. They either hide it, trying to stay calm, controlled, and non-threatening, or force it, pushing intensity too soon, overwhelming her body before it's ready. Both approaches weaken polarity. Because your arousal is not something to suppress, and not something to impose. It's something to offer, slowly, deliberately, like heat rising from embers. When done right, your arousal doesn't create pressure. It creates gravity. It pulls her in. The key distinction: stimulation versus containment. A woman does not want you to act unaffected. She loves knowing she's affecting you. But she wants to feel that your desire is contained, not chaotic. Think of a cup filled to the brim. The water is there, visible, heavy, but not spilling over. That is masculine arousal at its most compelling. It says, "I want you intensely, but I am not ruled by that want. I am choosing how to give it to you. How to show desire without making it feel like demand." Here are 3 embodied signals that communicate heated restraint. 1. Let your breathing change, but don't chase. If your breathing deepens or roughens, good, don't hide it. But don't lean in because of it. Let her feel your arousal building, without acting on it immediately. This makes her body lean toward it, too. hold her face or waist firmly, but without pulling. Your grip says, I want you. The lack of pulling says, I'll wait until you move into me. That surrender, when it comes, is electric. 3. Speak desire in observation, not request. Instead of, I want you so bad, say, you have no idea what you're doing to me right now, or, the way your voice changes when you get soft. Let the sentence hang. You are not asking, you are witnessing. And witnessing is far more seductive than begging. The formula: arousal first felt, then given back to her. Your job is not to dump your desire onto her. It's to let her feel it, and then reflect it back into her body as warmth, pressure, or stillness. When she feels your desire for her, and her own desire rising because of your control, that is when genuine surrender happens. Not forced, not performed, but chosen. In the next part, we are nearing the end. I will reveal how to bring all of this together into a single arc, a template you can follow every time, adjusting as needed to guide a woman from tension to complete openness without guesswork. This is where your mastery becomes effortless. Everything we've explored so far, the hidden nerve points, the slow build of trust, the containment of arousal, is powerful on its own. But true mastery isn't about individual techniques. It's about knowing how to string them together. Most men go wrong not because they lack skill, but because they have no structure, no sequence. They try things at random. They jump ahead too soon. Or they stay too safe for too long. A woman's body, and more importantly, her nervous system, opens in stages. Miss one, and the door doesn't open. Rush one, and she slams it shut. So here is the intimacy arc, a framework for guiding her from tension to full, willing surrender. Memorize it, adapt it, live it. Stage 1. Ground her before you touch her. Before any sensuality enters, create low-pressure connection. Speak slowly, listen fully. Let silence exist without rushing to fill it. Maintain presence without advancing. This is the I'm safe with him phase. Without it, nothing else matters. Stage 2. Warm her body via unexpected touch. Don't start with the obvious places. Instead, go to ignored zones, the ones we've already uncovered. The throat hollow calms and bonds. The inner forearm awakens anticipation. The shoulder blade, or between the ribs, startlingly tender. Even the outer hip bone territorial, yet subtle touch, slowly, deliberately. Then withdraw. Her body will start seeking you rather than enduring you. Stage 3. Introduce stillness to make her lean in. This is where most men fail. They stimulate too continuously. But desire doesn't rise on stimulation alone. It rises most during absence. Place your lips somewhere sensitive. Hold, don't move. Let her imagination fill in the movement you didn't make. Stage 4. Contained escalation. Let desire vibrate now. Increase temperature, not by speed, but by intention. Grip can be firmer, breath can be heavier, your voice can drop, but movements still stay paced. This creates vibrational tension, like an arrow pulled back but not yet fired. Stage 5. Invitation, not invasion. At this stage, her body is softened, tilted toward you. This is where many men take. Instead, invite, pause, hover, breathe against her skin, without touching. Let her close the final millimeter. That's when her body says, I want this. And that more than anything you could have forced, is true surrender. When you master this arc, you stop wondering, am I doing it right? You begin listening. You stop leading with pressure. You begin leading with gravity. And every woman you touch feels the difference. You are not performing. You are conducting an emotional symphony through her nervous system. In the next part, I'll show you how to recover instantly if you ever lose her rhythm, because even the most skilled men misread a moment now and then. The difference between amateurs and masters isn't perfection, it's repair. How you course correct without breaking the spell. And I'll give you the exact phrases and movements that restore connection without awkwardness. Even the most attentive, emotionally attuned men will occasionally overstep, understep, or simply misread her pace. Maybe you moved too quickly. Maybe you lingered too long. Maybe you touched somewhere her body wasn't quite ready for. Most men, in that crucial split-second, do one of two things: freeze in embarrassment, energy collapses, everything goes awkward. Pretend nothing happened, and push forward, energy hardens, she shuts down. Neither response creates safety. And safety is what reignites desire. So here's the secret. The mood isn't ruined when you misstep. It's ruined when you pretend it didn't happen. A momentary disconnect doesn't break the spell, but ignoring it does. The golden rule of recovery: acknowledge without apologizing. Apologies communicate guilt. Guilt kills polarity. But awareness builds trust. What she wants to feel is, he noticed, he's present, he's not thrown off. Exact phrases to bring her back into connection: use a low voice, half-whispered. No nervous laughter. No over-explaining. If she tenses, pulls back slightly, or hesitates, you simply say, not yet. Too much. Said gently, with a smile she can feel. Show me your pace. Or, if words would break the moment, just pause, pull back a bit, and breathe slowly, letting her guide where her body leans. Touch-based repair: no words needed. If she moved your hand away, don't chase it back. Instead, shift to a neutral touch, hand on her hip, or back of her shoulder. Press grounded, safe contact, steady, still. Let your body say, I'm not here to take. I'm here to feel with you. She will soften again, because she realizes, you didn't panic. You didn't perform. You stayed. And presence after tension creates deeper trust than perfect performance ever could. Recovery isn't failure, it's alchemy, when you repair a misstep with calm, grounded awareness. She doesn't remember the misread. She remembers how seen she felt, how safe, how willing her body became afterward. Sometimes, that moment of reset is where true surrender begins. In the next part, we'll explore how to leave her wanting more, not by pulling away too soon, but by ending the experience in a way that anchors emotional longing into her nervous system. Most men think the climax is the end. They're wrong. The most powerful moment is after. Most men think desire peaks during the moment. They assume that once the intensity is over, their role is complete. But in truth, the most powerful phase of intimacy is after the peak. Because that's when her body and mind decide. Was this just physical? Or, do I crave this again? And here's the secret. The final 5 minutes determine whether she remembers you or replays you. The mistake most men make: they collapse. They move away. Or worse, they talk too soon. The nervous system is still vibrating, delicate and open, and he jolts her out of it with sudden movement or casual chatter. That's like slamming the piano lid shut while the notes are still ringing. What to do instead? Extend the echo, don't leave the moment. Stretch it, not by continuing stimulation, but by cradling sensation. The 3 keys to mastering the afterglow: 1. Stay physically there. Even if you don't move, no need for more motion. Just presence. Your chest against her back, your hand on her stomach, your breath in sync with hers. This tells her nervous system, you're not alone in this softness. 2. Speak only once and make it land. Choose one sentence. Not praise, not jokes, not questions. Something simple, grounded, felt. Examples. Stay here with me. You feel incredible when you melt like that. A low hum, a whispered, not a word, but acknowledgement. That one line seals the energy. Anything more dilutes it. 3. Let the separation be slow when it's time to move. Don't leave. Unfold, like mist dissolving. Not gone, just less. If you stand abruptly, she feels abandoned. If you rise slowly, she feels carried. Why this matters more than technique, because a woman's deepest craving isn't stimulation. It's resonance. It's continuation. It's knowing that the connection she felt wasn't an accident, but a promise. And when you master the afterglow, she won't just desire you in her body. She yearned for you in your absence. That's not chemistry. That's imprint. Next. Everything we've explored. The trust building, the hidden nerve pathways, the containment of desire, the recovery, the afterglow is about to be woven together into a single, repeatable practice. In the final part, I'll show you how to become the man she feels safe unraveling for every single time. By now, you've seen that true intimacy, the kind that lingers in her body for days, is not about tricks, lines, or performance. It's about being a certain kind of presence, a presence that doesn't take, yet draws her deeper. A presence that doesn't rush, yet makes time feel suspended. A presence that makes her body whisper, I can let go here. So the question becomes, how do you become that man, not just once, but predictably? Not by memorizing steps, but by embodying principles. Let us refine everything into 4 anchoring traits, traits that turn you from a good lover into a safe abyss she gladly falls into. 1. Calm focus instead of frantic hunger. Most men touch like they're trying to get somewhere. The master touches like he's already there. He doesn't chase reactions, he watches them. He doesn't wonder, am I doing it right? He listens for what her body answers. She doesn't just feel wanted, she feels studied. 2. Earned restraint, desire contained. Not hidden, you don't suppress your arousal, you hold it. Like a torch in your chest. You let her feel the warmth, but you don't thrust it at her. She can sense, he could devour me, but he won't unless I ask him to. And that tension between threat and tenderness is what makes her melt. 3. Reverence instead of usage. A woman knows within seconds if she is being consumed or cherished. When you touch her, like a doorway rather than a distraction, she responds accordingly. She doesn't guard herself, because she senses you already see her beyond the act. 4. Relentless presence. Even in uncertainty, this may be the most critical. You will misread her sometimes. You will hit awkward beats, but you don't collapse or pretend. You stay, not rigid, not apologetic, just there. A woman's deepest nervous system test is not, are you perfect? It is, will you stay when the rhythm shifts? The formula is not touch, it's being all techniques aside. What makes a woman truly surrender is not what you do to her body. It's what her body feels arise in you when she opens. Does your energy sharpen? Does your breath grow wild? Or does your focus deepen, like a man receiving a sacred offering? The latter is what makes her keep giving. You have everything you need. This isn't reserved for actors, poets, or seducers. This is for men who can slow down, can listen with their hands, can feel without rushing to answer, can let their desire be powerful, but patient. In the final part, I will give you a closing invocation, a way to carry this energy into your daily life so that intimacy stops being something you do and becomes the way you walk through the world. One final breath, one final shift. Then you will never touch the same again. This is where everything changes. Because true mastery isn't just about what you do with a woman in private. It's about who you are before you ever lay a hand on her. The most powerful men, the ones women remember without understanding why, don't wait for intimacy to begin. They radiate it, not in a showy, performative way, but in how they breathe, how they pause before speaking, how they look at her, not to claim, not to convince, but to witness. That energy is not about dominance. It's not about softness either. It's about undeniable certainty. I know who I am. I know what I want. And I know how to wait for what is worth receiving. That is the essence of masculine gravity. And it can be practiced every single day, even when you're alone. A simple invocation to anchor this energy in your body. Try this. Before speaking to her, before touching her, before even entering a room where she is, inhale slowly through your nose. Let your belly expand, not your chest. Hold the breath for 1 count, not straining, owning. Exhale softly through your mouth, as if warming glass. Feel your spine lengthen, not rigid, awake. Then think, not as words, but as a pulse. I do not chase. I do not beg, I draw. Do this enough times, and your presence changes without effort. She will sense it. She won't know why her breath shifts when you walk by. She won't know why silence feels different with you than with other men. She won't know why she wants to stand closer to you without you even touching her, but her body will. You are ready, not because you've memorized scripts, not because you've mastered techniques, but because you now understand the deeper current beneath them all. Intimacy is not an action. It is a state of being. Technique is the instrument, but presence is the music. And when you live this way, every touch becomes poetry. Every pause becomes invitation. Every woman who crosses your path, whether lover, stranger, or friend, will feel more herself in your presence. That is the mark of a true masculine artist.